What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match reviews. Spurs beat Brighton by 2-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Obviously, we're going to be going through the match review, player ratings, 5 takeaways, and then we'll go and see how the internet did react to the game yesterday. But in terms of the match review, we don't make it easy for ourselves here at Tottenham Hotspur, do we? It's another late show at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which, you know, following on from the Sheffield United game, scoring in the 100th minute, the Liverpool game scoring late into stoppage time that day as well. And then this game against Brighton in the 6th minute or 97th minute of 6 minutes added on at the end of the game. And, you know, at the start of the game, we came under real pressure from Brighton. They gave us a bit of a footballing lesson in those first 25 minutes. We just couldn't seem to get the ball off them. We were making mistakes. Van der Ven was losing the ball high up the pitch, which led Brighton onto a chance where Vicario saved well from Danny Welbeck, and Bentancur was losing the ball on the edge of the box, which resulted in the penalty that Van der Ven gave away. But those first 25 minutes, I mean, Brighton did school us a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, and they're a very good footballing side. And you're looking at teams in the Premier League, one of the best teams who are able to play through an opposition press. It is Brighton. This is what I was saying in the preview. They want you to press you. They want you to come and press them so they can play around you. I had a bit of a worry in the preview that they are going to be waiting for us. They do know how we're going to play, and that they want us to play how we're going to play. And you got to remember, De Zerbi has been at this side now for well over a year. They're more settled than us. This is just the truth. Even though they're less quality, obviously individually we got better players. In terms of building up their system, their way of playing, they are more settled. It's more ingrained in them. They've had that kind of coaching for about 18 months now. So you can see they're very much well in tune, well oiled, and it was very, very difficult in the first 25 minutes for Spurs to kind of impress themselves on the game. Brighton were just keeping the ball so effectively. They were exploiting our backline because they know we're going to take risk, and when they beat our press, which they were able to do fairly comfortably in the first 25 minutes, they found all that space in behind. And not only that, but their pressing structure was also very difficult to contain, and it led to, as you say, Van der Ven losing the ball. Bentancur, who just wasn't at his sharpest in that first 45 minutes, let's be honest. He was looking to dribble his way out of trouble and getting caught as well, and it led to sustained bits of pressure, which, if it wasn't for Vicario, I mean, we were 1-0 down due to the penalty, which I look back at it, I don't know if it's a penalty. I think it was a soft one. I actually think Welbeck lands on Van der Ven. I've seen it back again. I actually don't think Van der Ven fouls him, but it's one of those penalties where it's never going to get overturned.
Yeah.
It's a soft one. I think Van der Ven's unlucky, but you just got to take it on the chin. But it was kind of a reward for Brighton's good early pressure. They deserved to be 1-0 up. They went 1-0 up. And then obviously, if it wasn't for a really good Vicario save against Mitoma, it could have been worse. So we had to ride out that period, make sure the damage wasn't too bad. And luckily, they had 3 opportunities: a penalty, Welbeck's chance, Mitoma's chance. Apart from that, they weren't exactly peppering us, but it was just a case of we weren't getting in the game. It was very difficult for us to kind of hang on to possession.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Mitoma was giving Porro a torrid time, to be honest, on that side of the pitch. Yeah, he was. I mean, the way that he can just take the ball down with that one touch is he's just such a classy player, Mitoma. And I was a bit in awe watching him with that first touch yesterday, and Porro found it really hard to deal with him, really hard. And you expect that though, don't you, with a player of Mitoma's quality, especially with what we know Porro is. But I thought after those first 25 minutes, we did kind of stem the tide. We were starting to get our own chances. Richarlison had a really good chance, didn't he, going one-on-one with a brilliant through ball from Maddison. I felt with Richarlison in that moment, like, instead of trying to dink it into the far corner, why didn't he just fake that shot and try go around the keeper? I thought that was probably the best move to do.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that was probably our best chance of the first half. It was a really good opportunity for Richarlison. By the way, an unbelievable outside of the boot through ball by James Maddison to play him in as well, which took about basically 5 players out of the game with that one pass. It was exceptional for Maddison, who I thought throughout the game was buzzing around and looking pretty good, to be honest. But yeah, Richarlison, he didn't ever really look quite confident in that moment, which is weird considering what good form he's in. And he did try and slide it past the keeper. He had a number of finishes which he probably could have done. I would have gone probably in that position. The keeper was in a very hard position to try and find an angle to find the corner, so probably going around the keeper would have been better. But No, he went for the chance. It happens. He missed, and I wasn't a big fan of Werner's follow up either. I thought he went.
That was
for
a lazy follow-up.
Yeah, he
man.
should have. He could have taken a touch. He could have made a much better chance. But he kind of just went for it first time, pretty carelessly.
Drab shot, wasn't it?
And to be fair, I thought, as you say, for all the talk of how bad our first half was, which we were bad at the start, for the last 15 minutes or so, we were definitely on top, and we were definitely pushing for our equaliser. Now, if that half would have gone on for a bit longer, maybe we would have got one, because we were pressing them high. Pretty much what I said in the preview, which we didn't capitalise in the game of the Amex. We're actually winning the ball up high up in their third quite often, but not taking advantage of it, not fashioning good quality opportunities. We did fashion a few opportunities, but a lot of the time it was wasteful. A lot of the time we were being a bit careless in the final third. Obviously, Kulusevski had a chance when Richarlison played him in. Richarlison had that chance on the breakaway when he carried the ball from the halfway line all the way to the edge of the box, and then screwed up his final pass as well.
There's a couple of moments like that from Richarlison though in the first.
But he
half.
did also set up another chance for Maddison, so he ends up
hot and cold. With
he ends up setting up two chances. I thought he played pretty well. I know he screwed up a couple of times, but he can't get it right every time. And I thought overall I was pretty happy with how he was playing. He was setting up chances. He was getting chances himself. He was causing a nuisance.
He was working so hard for the team, as he always does, Richarlison. I mean, the guy just never stops running, never gives the centre-backs a moment's rest, does he? You need to be on high alert at the moment when Richarlison's on the pitch. And, half-time comes, and I think Brighton go into the lead, and deservedly so. As much as we did come back into the game in those last 15, 20 minutes, I did think Brighton were good value for their lead, I would say, at half-time.
They were the better team, but you look on the facts, we probably created as many chances as they did. And if it wasn't for the penalty, probably was a difference in terms of the quality of chances. So, yes, they were, in terms of like the eye test, general play, how they were passing it around, looking sharp, they were the better team. But in terms of just purely chances created in that half, it was fairly even.
The way they were keeping that ball in those first 25 minutes, I was like, what the hell? We just can't get a foothold in this game. They were passing it around us. They made it look easy at times to play it around us in those first 25 minutes. And yeah, look, credit to Spurs, because we dug deep and we came back into the game and we ended that first half probably the better team. And I think second half as well, we came out and we looked much better in that second half. In those first 20 minutes, we were the ones camped in the Brighton half. We penned them in a little bit. We started to create a few chances and we got the reward through that goal.
Yeah, and I think we started with a lot of intent. Brighton, I don't know whether it was because they were just sitting back and trying to protect their lead and they were dropping off or what it was, but Brighton just didn't come out in that second half in the same team. They weren't passing it around in the same way. They found it very, very difficult to get in a half, and maybe that's just because we upped our intensity. You saw Romero taking more risk with his pressing into the midfield, and there was even one occasion he found himself on the right wing, and he was kind of becoming like a facilitator in that way. We were just a lot more aggressive in that second half as we started, and 100% when we equalised, it definitely had a sense of it being coming at that point, and it was a really great equaliser, by the way. Bentancur, who we mentioned, had a pretty poor first half and got caught a couple of it on occasions, but in the second half, he was very important to that goal. He kind of takes three players out of the game with a good piece of play. He gets a bit of luck because he actually gave the ball away and won it back, but plays out to Kulu, and Kulu finds a wonderful through ball to Sarr, who obviously looked fine. Rishi went off the post and fell back to him, and it wasn't an easy finish.
Underrated finish.
Yeah, you can say it's an open goal, but really tight angle on his weaker foot as well, and it comes at him very quickly. He has to react really quickly to score that. So it was a great run as well from Papma to Sarr deep from midfield. He's so good at those lung bursting runs, like no one could get near him, and it was a reward for, first of all, Tottenham's really positive start to the second half, but also Sarr himself. I thought in the second half he started like a house on fire. He was like unstoppable in that period.
So
and
good to have
it was a great goal.
So good to have him back, isn't it, Pape Sarr? Because I thought he was our best player in the first half as well, and second half he just took it up another level as well. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, Pape Sarr. But it was a strange one because those subs were getting readied before we scored that goal. We score that goal, Kulusevski obviously central to it. And I thought as well, Kulusevski, as much as I thought he was a bit poor in the first half, he was growing in the second half. And he was involved in the goal. He had another few moments as well where I felt like he had the beating of Estepinian in that second half. And Bentancur as well started to grow a bit in that second half, and you saw a bit of what he's about, what we know and love from Bentancur, being silky, being able to work in those tight spaces, being a bit press resistant as well. And they both go off, which I felt it was a bit strange because they were both growing in the game.
Yes, it was strange, but you have to remember they both did very well for the goal, and they were already stripped off when that goal scored. So Ange already planned to take them off, which maybe wouldn't have been such a controversial decision if that goal hadn't have gone in at the time. Obviously, the goal does go in. Maybe it changed it. I think it was still right to take Bentancur off, even though he was improving, because even in the moment when we scored, he did have to get a bit of luck because he gave the ball away and he had to win it back. So there were still indications he's not quite his best. So bring Basuma was the right decision. Taking Werner off for Son, obviously the right decision. I think Werner flat to deceive for a lot of the game. I don't think he had a particularly terrible game, but he was just very frustrating. He got himself, again, a lot of good positions, but that that delivery, that opportunity to show a bit of quality with his crossing, or he had one shot I think which got deflected wide, but didn't really do enough to tell me he was probably going to get a goal contribution in the last half an hour. So Son, taking Son off was bringing Son on was positive. That was a good move, but I did think the mistake was probably Johnson. Even it's funny to say that because Johnson ended up getting the winner, but I did think at the time Kulu was having a massive influence on the game, and also I feel like he was the only one as well, maybe partly Richarlison as well, but really making that ball stick in the final third. We were giving it to him, and he was turning on Estepinian, he was keeping the ball, he was bringing other players into play, and he just got a brilliant kind of pre-assist / assist for Sarr's goal as well. Great through ball. So to take him off at that moment was odd. Obviously I can understand and just thinking, bring more energy, get more running in behind, maybe forget to Johnson. He saw maybe that Kulu was having the beating of Estepinian, maybe Estepinian was getting tired, so he thought if I bring Johnson on, he can really have a run at him and cause him problems. But I think what we lost in Kulusevski was just that bit of guile, that bit of passing ability, because let's be honest, like Johnson would never have played that pass to Sarr, like those kind of moments. So that is what we lost with Kulusevski coming off. And I think maybe, I'm not saying it was totally the wrong sub overall, but maybe you could have left Kulu on for another 15 minutes, see how he does, instead of taking off at that moment. So
it's probably his best moment. In that 10, 15 minute, maybe even 20 minute period, it was probably his best moment in the last month or so, because he's been poor, Kulusevski, the last 3 or 4 games, to be honest. And yeah, that was his best moment, to be honest. So I thought it was a bit of a shame taking him off, but ultimately it led to the goal, didn't it? Because Brennan Johnson did score in the last minute, but I felt like after he made the changes, we had a bit of a period where Sonny looked so dangerous. Sonny came on and with his captain mentality, geeing up the fans, geeing up his teammates, and he looked on it from the start. It looked like angry Sonny, where he really wanted to make something happen. And for those first 5 minutes, we looked really dangerous. But then, I don't know what happened, but we just suddenly dropped off and then just let Brighton get back into the game.
Yeah, I think it was more Brighton changing mentality than ours, to be honest, because as you say, we were on top, and Brighton it seemed as though they were going to their shell a bit, and then we made no subs. We had a good little spell, but then Brighton completely switched up their pressing structure. They went all of a sudden to a man-to-man pressing, and what we were doing, which was really frustrating me, is when we were trying to build up from the back in those moments, it seemed as though we stopped kind of moving off the ball, and we were kind of waiting for players to kind of pass. Like players were kind of waiting for the pass instead of coming looking for the ball and getting close to each other. And what it meant was, because we were waiting for it, when we were trying to play out from the back, and we weren't being aggressive, trying to get in front of our man and fight for the ball, Brighton seemed to up their intensity, and we didn't kind of match it in that period, and it just led to Brighton kind of getting first to every ball we were trying to play out the back, and that was very frustrating. And those moments, when when you're being man marked, you got to win your individual battles, and it kind of felt like we didn't know that's what we had to do. It kind of felt like we assumed we could still play our pretty football, we can still kind of pass it around and without any pressure, and we can play through Brighton. But what we had to do in that moment was really be up for the battle. You have to win your individual battle. So if a pass comes into feet, you have to battle for it, you have to shield it, you have to bring other players into play. We weren't doing it. We were allowing Brighton to kind of step in ahead of us, win the ball back very easily, and it led to a quite sustained period of pressure for about 15 minutes where Brighton were definitely on top, and they had definitely one big chance through Ansu Fati, which he should have scored. And then there was one as well, Buonanotte has a shot which deflected wide, which could have easily deflected into the back of the net. And at that moment, we were struggling. And at that moment, probably you're thinking, obviously a draw is a bad result, but at that point you're thinking, we might have to take a draw here because we could easily lose this. If anyone was going to score in those last 10 minutes, it did seem like it might be Brighton. So that was a worrying moment in the game. But we did end up finding that moment of quality. And you have to say, watching back for the goal we did score in the 97th minute, it's actually a really good team goal overall. Like, really great build-up, brilliant quick transitioning into Maddison into Richarlison. He holds the ball out really well, finds Sonny on the left, and an excellent ball across the face of the goal for Johnson to score. And actually, maybe, in a weird way, the way Brighton were playing in that last 50 minutes, which actually put a lot of risk to the game, was to their benefit for the last 50 minutes, but it may be to their detriment in that one moment, because that was the moment we were able to wriggle away from them, and that meant there was loads of space to play in, and it ended up causing the goal. It
was massively against the run of play, though, that goal, wasn't it? I mean, but that's what happens when you bring on someone like Heung-min Son. You know, we were trying to get balls in the box like that all day with Timo Werner, to be honest, and we just couldn't do it, because especially in the first half, I felt like Werner had the beating of Lamptey as well. A number of times he beat him, and we had just terrible balls into the box. And then suddenly you bring on someone of world-class quality like Heung-min Son. It's no surprise that he's going to put in a on-the-money ball straight to Brennan Johnson right at the back post, and that's exactly what happened. And the subs, I felt like I felt like we had a massive drop-off when the subs came on after that sustained amount of pressure. But I do feel like the subs actually played well. Like Bissouma gave us a lot in that midfield. The amount of interceptions he was winning time and time again in the midfield, I thought he came on with some good mentality. Heung-min Son as well. Like we said, the man of the moment, you know, he comes on, provides those moments of quality, and we go on and win the game. And it was solely down to one counter-attack pretty much.
Yeah, and I agree with you. When the subs came on, in a weird way, it seemed for some reason to take a wind out of our sails after we were in the ascendancy. But it should have done the opposite effect, because we just got equaliser. The crowd are all G'd up because Son's just come on. He's making his return. Romero's going over to him, putting the armband on him. He's G'ing up the crowd. Like, we should be adding extra energy into the game. But I think, it's because Brighton switched up.
Brighton were the players that won us the game, though. Like Sonny crossing into Brennan Johnson.
And it's absolutely right. Obviously, Højbjerg ended up coming on, and it was interesting actually, because obviously I think Ange noticed that the subs come on, but we seemed to step our foot off the gas, and we really struggled to win the ball back after those subs came on. So he had Skip and Højbjerg ready to come on, and then Udogie kind of pulled up a bit. So he took Udogie off, and instead of taking Maddison off, which I think he was about to, he ends up taking Udogie off for Davis. And luckily for us, what was I going to say? Luckily for us, we kept Maddison on, because he had a massive part to play in that second goal. So that was really positive. So in a weird way, the fact that Udogie pulled up a bit and had a bit of cramp was actually to our benefit, because it meant Maddison stayed on, and he had a big part to play in that winning goal. So really great. And I think a lot of people have been reading about our performance in the game being very negative, and I don't know. I don't feel as negative as a lot of people about our performance. Yes, a draw was probably a fair result on the balance of the game. Maybe we got a bit lucky to win, but Brighton are a very, very good team. One of the best teams on the ball in the league. You were not going to play that kind of quality on the ball every week when it's going to be that hard to get the ball off them. They were able to play for us quite well, but they only had 6 shots during the game. I know a lot of them were good chances, but Vicario pretty much didn't have a save to make in that second half. They only scored for a penalty. And when we were on top, I think we were much better than when Brighton were on top, if you know what I mean. I thought we were very, very good in our dominant period. And obviously, we had the quality to win the game right at the end, which you need to do when you come up against a very good team. And Brighton, before this game, had a record of 31 games unbeaten when they're winning at half times. It shows they're not easy to play against when they've got the lead. Yet we were able to overcome that and get the win. So as much as it wasn't our best display, we could have played better. I think under the circumstances, it was a really good win, and I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, look, it was a really good win, but I don't know. I feel like Brighton, when they were on top, they were just schooling us a little bit in terms of the way they were playing their football. And look, we played well. It was a very much a basketball game at times. Like, they had moments in the game, then we had moments in the game, then we had moments. Like, it just kept toing and froing in terms of momentum switches in the game. That's what it came down to, and it was probably, I think a draw was probably a fair result, to be honest. And I think if it finishes a draw, neither side have complaints about it. I think if Brighton take away the 3 points as well, I don't think we're sitting here complaining about we got outdone there, or we were unlucky to lose that game. I just felt Brighton came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with a plan and nearly followed through with it, to be honest. And I thought we got a little bit lucky taking away those 3 points. I really did.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we didn't. I'm just saying we just for the credit you're going to give Brighton for when they're on top, you have to give us credit for when we were on top as well. And we had 16 shots, 6 on target. They only had 6 shots the whole game. We had more XG than them. I think overall we created more chances. I thought when we were pressing them, our press was a lot more dangerous than theirs was. And I think we actually probably defended better than them in a way compared to how they played. So Brighton were great. Not going to take anything away from them. They definitely deserved something out of this game. But look, I think we just basically need the credit for how well we did play when we were on top. We did turn it around. We were 1-0 down and we had to stick with it, and we regained control of the game. And we had to defend at times, and Brighton were coming at us, and when they're on the ball, they got great quality and it's very difficult to handle, but we were able to handle it. I know they missed one big chance through Fati, but other than that, they didn't create too many other big opportunities. So I think you've got to give us credit as well. And moments of quality, like at the end, it was a really good goal. You got to remember, we scored 2 good goals from open play. They got their only goal was a penalty, so that goes to show the footballing quality maybe between the sides. Even though on the eye test, Brighton had a very good moments in the game where they were playing for us. I think overall we overcame it, and I think I'm not going to say we definitely deserved the win, but I don't think we were as bad as a lot of people are complaining about. Some people playing we were terrible, we were really lucky to win, we should have lost, all that kind of stuff. I just see it a bit differently. I think a draw would have been a fair result, but I think I'm very happy we got the win.
But there's one thing you got to say about this team is, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, Sheffield United now, Liverpool, Brighton, keep going till the end, finding those late moments in games, those clutch moments where you take home 3 points from Liverpool, Sheffield United and Brighton after 95, 96 minutes. I mean, what is it about this team? We just never stop. That's the Ange motto, isn't it?
Well, he said we're going to concede goals late and we're going to score goals late, and that's exactly what happened in the last 2 weeks. Pretty much, last week we conceded, this time we scored. That's just how it's going to be under Ange rule, especially right now as we're kind of still early in the project. We're not quite a well-oiled machine just yet. We're still finding our way. Players still getting used to it, and it's leading to a lot of drama, a lot of chaos in the latter stages of games. This time we were on the right end of it, and I'm enjoying every second of it. It just kind of feels like you can never leave a game early at this point. But I think, obviously, right now, games are going down to the wire and there's a lot of late drama. But hopefully, once the team's more settled, those 2-1, those games when we're winning 1-0 and it's down to the wire, hopefully we're winning 2 and 3-0 instead, and maybe it'll be less of an issue later in games. But what's important is when we are down or we are drawing, we never stop going to the last minute, and it's paid off a few times. And that's the mentality of Ange Postecoglou.
Do you think now, looking at the outlook of the table, we are in the top 4 with Villa to play later on today? Do you think we're favourites for the top 4 now?
Yeah, I would say before the game we were. I think Villa are slowing down. I really believe that. When you look at Villa, when they play badly and they're losing like 3-1 at home to Newcastle and things like that, I just think they look a lot worse than we do when we're not picking up results. At least when we're picking up results, looks like it's a lot more likely for us to get to be in the game. I feel like for Villa, when they're losing, they look like they're always second best, and they're very heavily reliant on Watkins. You saw Son went out of the team, and obviously we suffered, but I don't think we would suffer as much as if Villa had without Watkins. They're very, very reliant on him, and they're very reliant on Bailey keeping up his exceptional form as well. When he starts to slow down, we'll see how they get on, and they're more of a pragmatic team, and it means that when they're getting stifled, it's very difficult for them to maintain kind of their offensive threat. Whereas because we're all in as offensive team, once we get back in the game, we're always looking likely to get goals. So look, I'm sure Villa are going to run us close, and they're a very good team, don't get me wrong. But with European football coming back for them, with their form slowing down, with their heavily reliant on certain players, I just don't see them keeping it up. And I think if anyone's going to last the distance, I think Tottenham have far more chance. Yeah,
I completely agree. And you've also got to look at it with the players coming back now. Bissouma back in the squad, which is going to be a major plus for us going forward. I think he has to start in the next game, in my opinion. And Heung-min Son, he's going to be the difference, Sonny. He came on, provided that moment of quality yesterday. it's so understated how much he's been missed in this period that he's been at the Asia Cup. And you're looking at the options that Ange Postecoglou has to the options that Emre has. Like you mentioned, if Ollie Watkins gets injured, they don't really have anyone to step in. We've been like kind of getting through things without Heung-min Son. So I think that's the difference, isn't it? Because we've got options and they don't.
Exactly. You look at our forward line. Look at Villa's forward line. Right? They have Watkins, Diaby and Bailey. A lot of the time they're only starting two of them as well.
Yeah.
We've got, if you look at our forward line, we have so many more options as well. You look in midfield, when they're lacking creativity, like there's not really a midfielder there who you're thinking that someone's going to pick a lock here. Like when they're behind in games, you got Kamara, Louise, McGinn, Tielemans. I mean, Tielemans is a good technical player, but apart from him, you look at that player and it's like, unless they're in the lead, unless they get an early lead and they kind of playing on the transitional counter, like when the teams are sitting back against them, they don't have that quality to pick the lock as well as we do. We have Madison, Kulusevski, Giovanni Lo Celso to come on as well. And then obviously we're chock-a-block of talent in the forward line. So, and also, not only that, but our players are a lot more versatile. Kulusevski can move into midfield, Son can go up front.
Got a much stronger squad.
It's just a lot more versatile, whereas them, it's like, you know what you're going to get. Bailey on the right, Watkins up front, maybe with Diaby sometimes. It's just a lot more predictable, I feel, with Aston Villa. And look, they're a very aggressive team. They're very good at what they do, but is what they do sustainable? And I think their form since beating City and Arsenal shows to me that I don't think it is.
I agree with that. Is there a bit of a worry Manchester United at the moment? If they win today, 6 points behind?
I mean, right now we're 9 points. They have to win that game.
It's Villa United, isn't it? Later today.
It's Villa United. So, am I worried about them? No, I don't think they'll have the consistency either. Look, they're coming back into it a bit. They're starting to show improvements. But even in those wins, apart from West Ham, they won fair and square, good win. But the Wolves game, even when they were playing well and on top, and should have seen out that game, they're still vulnerable. They let go of a 3-1 lead with 10 minutes to go, and it was 3-3 up until Kobe Mainoo scored. So, I don't know. I don't see Man United as a team right now showing me they got the consistency to last the distance, unless there's a massive upturn in the second half of the season and Ten Hag really turns it around and they start putting consistent performances we haven't seen all season. Then I don't think United can last the distance. And I'm also looking at them. It's like Højlund's come back into form. Rashford's maybe starting to play a bit, but I don't know. I still feel I prefer our options at the moment.
So you want Man United to win today?
A draw would be nice.
A draw would be nice.
Draw would be nice.
I'd agree with that. But look, that's our match review and a bit of look forward into the top four race. Just before we get into player ratings, an update from the London Stadium. It's nearly half time and Arsenal are 4-0 up. It's ridiculous. 2 set-piece goals and a penalty and a good goal from Trossard.
Well, West Ham...
They're just a glorified Bolton Arsenal.
West Ham have, not won now. This is probably going to be 7 games in a row they haven't won in all competitions. They haven't won since beating Arsenal at the Emirates, which was on the same night we played Brighton. So that was like in December, near the end of December. We're now, coming up to mid-February. So they're on bad form and... Arsenal definitely taking advantage of it. Look, you got to say Arsenal will be very impressive. Scored from set pieces. West Ham have had one shot the whole half, but looks like West Ham fans are getting frustrated. Now, this is what we were saying about West Ham, even in that period, right? They beat Arsenal and then they beat United, and people were saying, "Oh, look, they're sick." What are you West Ham fans complaining about? Look, they're doing well, but their form was never sustainable the way they were playing. They were never going to be able to keep it up. And I reckon if these results continue, people are going to start calling for Moyes again.
I think they already are, to be honest. And there's been talk about Moyes getting a new contract. And I think that cringes out the whole of the West Ham fan base, to be honest.
They're down to 8th now at the moment, where obviously they're going to lose this game. They were... I think after the game they beat us, or a few weeks ago, they were only like 3 points behind us, and people were thinking, do they have an outside shot? But with this loss, it's going to be 11 points now.
Well, anyway, enough of West Ham and enough of Arsenal. Let's go on to our player ratings, and we'll start off with Vicario. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Really important save in the first half to deny Danny Welbeck. Really outstretched save. There are a couple of moments playing out the back, which was a bit dodgy from Vicario, but I think everything that he had to do in terms of goalkeeping, I think he did really well.
Yeah, he made a really good save from Matoma as well in the first half. I think the first half, he obviously made 2 really good saves. I don't think Brighton had a shot on target in the second half, so he didn't have too much to do. I thought the corners, Vinge, I was watching from the corners, and it was interesting that we did decide decide to act. And Maddison was kind of protecting Vicario a bit. He was blocking off Welbeck, making sure he wasn't kind of impeding him. So I thought he played well. I thought those 2 key saves in the first half really kept in it, stopped him from being 2 and 3. So those were big moments. And then second half, he didn't have too much to do. So don't think he could obviously save the penalty. But I agree with you. His passing out the back wasn't great. There's a couple of occasions he had to, played out play and wasn't the best. But I think the big saves were big moments. So I gave him an 8.
In terms of Pedro Porro, we give him a 6 all round for him. I thought he struggled massively with Mitoma yesterday. There's not any fullback would, to be honest. That's just the quality of Mitoma. But a lot of chances were coming through him down his side. The one late on with Ansu Fati as well came from Mitoma, getting the better out of Pedro Porro. And I felt like Pedro as well, like him impacting games, getting in the middle of the park, dictating our chances and being a chance creation machine. It's just kind of diminished in his game for the last few weeks.
Yeah, he wasn't really involved. He was kind of pinned back a lot by Mitoma. In a weird way, I thought there was some occasions he dealt really well with Mitoma and was really aggressive, but then when Mitoma was able to find a bit of space, like to go either side, then he started to struggle, and Mitoma had the beating of him on a few occasions. Obviously, he got in on goal to nearly score. He set up that chance for Ansu Fati late on in the game as well. That was down Porro's side. So there were times he struggled. I wouldn't say it was he was like one of those games you got completely roasted, like in a game, because I did think there were also occasions where Porro was also getting the better of Mitoma, but he definitely had his struggles. But defensively, he was decent. Going forward, didn't have too much of an impact as usual, so gave him a 6.
Cuti Romero up next, 8th all round for Cuti. I thought it was a really good display from our captain on the day until Sonny came on. Specifically in the second half, he really grew into the game. He was getting high up the pitch on the halfway line, winning the ball back time and time again, setting us on attacks, getting really high up the pitch as well. Really aggressive Cuti Romero that we love to see. So it was a really good display from Cuti.
Yeah, I think I gave him my man of the match. I thought he was brilliant. I thought in the second half, he really stepped up, and he was a big reason why we took control of that second half. He was so aggressive. He wasn't giving Brighton an inch, and he's so brave with his passing. I love how he always looks for a forward pass into a good position, and more often than not, he finds it. I thought he was sweeping some lovely passes out to Werner as well when he was on. I thought defensively brilliant. I thought he was partnered with Van de Ven. I thought they did really well together, especially in the second half. First half, he was good, pretty good, probably one of our better players, but maybe it wasn't as good as he was in the second half. And I think he was a big reason we stepped up. So really great from Cuti.
Mickey Van de Ven up next. 7s all round for Mickey. Came under a bit of pressure early doors. Lost that ball in the middle of the park, which set Brighton on the attack. Gave away the penalty as well. Whether you argue it's a penalty or not, he did give the referee a decision to make. And obviously it went and the penalty and we go 1-0 down. But I felt like after that, he did grow into the game, especially when he was in a foot race with anyone. he just wins it hands down. The speed that this guy has and the amount of times it gets him out of trouble is just unbelievable. So I thought after those early moments of dodgy period in the first 20 minutes, I thought he grew into the game and played pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he did have a bit of struggle. Obviously, he does those classic, iconic, I think we should call them now, Van de Ven recovery tackles where he's just coming, running over, and he's going to get to the ball first, wherever the player is, the opposition player. But he did get caught on the ball for one chance. He did give away the penalty, which I didn't think was a penalty. I've watched it back. I think it was a soft penalty. I think he's unlucky in that situation, but he did give it away, which he didn't win the ball. And also, I feel like the difference between Van de Ven and Romero on the ball is I feel like Romero, when he's on the ball, he just commands a bit of authority. He wants to play forward. He wants to be positive. And Van de Ven always plays it just a bit safe. Sometimes he can slow the moves down a bit when he's on the ball. He has this tendency, I don't know why he does it, because he's so big and strong. You expect Van de Ven to be able to just stride forward and kind of carry the ball forward effortlessly because of his physical traits. But he has this tendency to, when he gets the ball, just stand on it and just expect players around him to move for him rather than him engineering an angle to pass. And that's a bit frustrating because sometimes that can slow it down and maybe it's instructions, because sometimes Romero does it as well, but I feel like Van de Ven, I would like to see him stride with the ball and carry the ball a bit more with his physical traits. That's something to improve on. But overall, pretty good performance.
Yeah, as well, something I noticed with Van de Ven is passing out the back wasn't exactly his strongest point on the weekend, which sometimes, he plays lovely passes between the lines, and it just wasn't happening for him yesterday. So in terms of the last couple of weeks, probably his poorest display, but it wasn't poor by any stretch of the imagination. But let's move on to Destiny Udogie. 7s all round for Destiny, and I thought he played fairly well, to be honest. I thought defensively did his job. Didn't really impact things going forward like he usually does, but I think where he earned his money yesterday was definitely his defensive display.
Yeah, he had that sign on lockdown. Lamptey was getting a bit of joy at times, but that wasn't, I think, due to him. I think he was doing some really good stuff. He was earning free kicks. He was winning the ball back. They couldn't really go down that side. I think a lot of they did a couple of occasions, obviously, right at the beginning of the game where Welbeck gets in, but that was more Van de Ven giving the ball away. He didn't impact, similar to Porro. Maybe it was due to Brighton just penning us back a bit. He didn't really wasn't able to impact the game offensively, but I thought defensively he was top notch and a bit better than Porro at the back. So that's why I just gave him one more rating higher.
Rodrigo Bentancur up next. 5s all round from us. Another poor display, unfortunately, from Rodrigo Bentancur. Lost the ball on the edge of the box, which did ultimately lead to the penalty. And I just felt like he kept getting caught on the ball, Bentancur, in that first half. And maybe it's just he's not fully fit yet. I don't know what it is, but it's just not the same Bentancur as before the injury. There was a quote from Ali Gold today saying they didn't expect Bentancur to be back fully fit to see the best of him till next season, which might explain it. But I did feel in the second half that he was growing into the game, but they took him off. So maybe we would have seen a much better Bentancur if he stayed on the pitch, because I did feel like he was growing into the game, but because he got taken off at that point, you have to say it was a bad performance.
Yeah, but I would say if he was taken off at half time, he would have got a lower rating than that. And I think he jumped up maybe even a couple of ratings because he really improved in the second half and started to impact the game a bit. But he definitely looks off the pace. He's just a bit off it at the moment. You can see at the moment he gave the ball away. If you watch it back, he has a split second where he can very quickly pass the ball into Kulusevski and get us forward. He takes that one extra touch, which usually he wouldn't do. He's very usual, very good at decision making, when to release the ball, when to hang on to it, and maybe he's just not in his rhythm yet. But there's a number of factors. First, we'll come back from the MCL which took him nearly a year. He came back from that actually quicker than expected, and he looked dynamite. But then on the game, he comes back, he gets injured. So he's come back from a second now quite bad injury with his ankle, and then not only is he coming back from a second injury, he came back from that about a month early, which maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was a mistake because we needed him at the time, but clearly he's not kind of in his rhythm right now. He's definitely not his best. He's not at his sharpest, and maybe he just needs a break and being on the bench for a bit. Maybe when he can come on against people who are tiring, he can impact the game a bit better, and maybe gets a bit more time on the ball than starting games against teams full of energy, pressing him, that kind of stuff. So I don't think there's anything to worry about long term. Right now, though, he is struggling a bit. It's no secret, and he's definitely not his best. But there's still glimpses, even when his game is not his best, of what he can do, and we all know what he can do. I mean, people I've seen some comments, oh, maybe we should sell him, people like that. It's like, come on, man.
So
honestly,
reactionary, man.
A few bad performances and you want him gone already. It's like as if this is going to continue forever. Yes, coming over all circumstances, it might be true. We might not see him at his very, very best till next season. But I'm sure even this season we can get him back to a better level than he's at now.
That's what you have options for. He's had such a bad injury in 2 of them consecutively. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to take his toll on anyone, not just Rodrigo Bentancur. But what we got going for us now is Bissouma's coming back, and he looked really good when he came on yesterday. So for me, Bissouma has to start the next game, and maybe Bentancur use him as an impact sub and get minutes in his legs that way.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go.
I think that will be the plan.
But let's go on to Pape Matar Sarr. 8s all round for Pape, and it's so good to have him back in the Tottenham side. I thought he was our best player in the first half. The way he was just, I mean, what's that quote that they used to use for Kante? Because that is so relevant for Pape Matar Sarr. Like 80% of the world or something is covered by water, and the rest by Pape Matar Sarr. I mean, that's exactly what we saw yesterday. If you saw the heat map of his performance yesterday, he was everywhere, and he took it up another notch in that second half. Obviously got that goal, ricocheted off the post, and then found that really nice angle to put in the back of the net. He was just everywhere in that second half, and putting out fires all over the pitch, starting attacks, stopping Brighton attacks. I mean, the guy is a sensation for the age that he is at, showing the maturity that he shows. I mean, I love this guy so much.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought the way he started that second half, it was like he had a bit of authority about him. It was like he wanted to drag the team forward, and those runs into dangerous spaces is so hard to stop when you've got the energy and the pace of Pape Sarr, which he obviously showed for the goal he scored. And I thought he was he was excellent. He did definitely tire around the 70th minute, or not 70, like 75th, 80th minute, which is why Ange decided to take him off. He was starting to misplace some passes and things like that, and also he was on a booking and he had already made a foul, so didn't want to maybe risk him getting sent off.
Yeah.
So he was rightfully taken off, but I thought for the time he was on the pitch, he was absolutely fantastic. Dragged us back into the game with the goal, and really underrated goal as well. Great run. His pass would have found Richarlison if it wasn't for the toe of Lewis Dunk, and then a really good finish on his weaker foot from a really tight angle with a really quick reaction time. So really great from Sarr, and it's so great having him back in the team.
James Maddison up next, 7s all round for Maddison. Another good display from him coming back from injury. I thought if anything was going to happen in the first half, it was all coming through him. Lovely ball to play Richarlison in. Unfortunately, Richarlison missed that opportunity going 1-on-1 with the keeper. But I felt like as well, towards in the second half, he started to show his influence in the game even more. And he just looks really dangerous. Anytime he's on the ball, you expect something to happen with the quality that he does have. And things were happening. I just felt he was sometimes let down with a few players around him.
Yeah, and I thought he was buzzing around. He was actually being a real problem for Brighton. Even in the game, even in the parts of the game we were struggling, he was the only one kind of stepping up, providing a bit of quality. Great nearly assist for Richarlison when he was from goal. Brilliant through ball outside of the boot. Absolutely amazing. Then obviously had a shot from the edge of the box with whisk just an inch wide of the post, which would have been a great effort. He then... I did feel like in that second half he was good, really good, up until the 70th minute. Up until like Brighton started taking control. And when Brighton started taking control, obviously he got booked for a foul, and then he was kind of running around, and maybe he looked like he could put in a bad challenge, and he was starting to tire a bit. And Ange did have him ready to get taken off, and he was very much tiring. He was going to get taken off for Ollie Skip, but before he got taken off, Doggy kind of got a bit of cramp, so he took a Doggy off instead, and that was actually a blessing in disguise, because Maddison for the winner right at the end. Brilliant piece of play to find Richarlison in space. Great on the transition. Really good build-up play, and he was fully central to that. So thank God he did stay on, because I don't know if we would have scored the winner if he didn't.
The guy has just so much quality, and I feel like he's not fully fit yet. And I think like game on game, I think he's slowly getting better and better. I think this was a better display than what we saw at Goodison Park last week. So it's all good signs from James Maddison, and brilliant bit of quality at the end to start the move off for that goal. So brilliant stuff from James Maddison. I'm expecting even better because we were walking to the stadium in here, and I said to you, it's going to be a James Maddison masterclass today. It wasn't quite the James Maddison masterclass I was expecting, but a good performance nonetheless. But let's go on to Decky. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I was a bit disappointed with him in the first half. Didn't really stamp his authority on the game, which we know he can, which kind of like followed on his bad form, to be honest. But second half, a new Decky came out for that second half, and I felt like he had the beating of Estepinian. He forced a lovely pass, wasn't it, for Pape Sarr's goal through the lines, and I felt like he was growing and growing in that second half, and it was unfortunate to get taken off. I thought it was a bit of a strange move from Ange, but we did reap the benefits in the end, because then Brendan Johnson did get on the score sheet right at the end of the game. But look, I thought it was a good second half display from Kulu, but a disappointing first half display.
Yeah, but even in that first half, he didn't nearly score. Richarlison plays him in and forced a good save out of the goalkeeper steal. So even in that half, there was even a few moments where he showed a bit of quality. But you're right, he was influencing the game nearly as much as he was in the first 15 minutes of the second half, where he seemed a lot more confident. He was getting to the final third a lot more. And obviously that pass, brilliant. I mean, very underrated. So a great weight of pass into Sarr's path to take it in his stride. And obviously we got the goal from it. And I just think, actually, if I'm pointing at one mistake Ange made in this game, it probably was taking Kulu off too early. I think he kind of rushed that decision. He could have let him stay on for a bit longer, even if it meant he came off, maybe with 10 minutes to go rather than that period, and then Johnson comes on. We still could have had that moment where we scored the winner even then. I think we lost a bit of guile. We lost a bit of technical ability in terms of hanging on to the ball, passing him, moving, building, sustaining pressure without him on the pitch. When we had Johnson on, it felt like we just kept losing the ball and it kept coming back way too much. So that was a bit of a mistake. I don't know if he would think that after the game, but I did think in general Kulu played quite well and was unlucky not to be on the end of an assist, but was unlucky to be taken off when he was.
Timo Werner up next, 7 from Sims.
I actually gave him a 6. So I was wrong
6 is all round for Timo Werner then. Scrap that 7. But look, Timo, I thought in the first half, he was looking dangerous on that left-hand side. He was getting to the byline, he was beating his man, some good dribbling ability. But it was every time he got past that man and got into those moments, it was always really poor distribution, really poor balls into the box. There was that moment that Richarlison goes through on goal and it comes to Timo Werner from the goalkeeper, another drab shot. And it's like he was doing the hard things really well. And then when he got into those moments, you just left so frustrated every time. And I think he got rightfully taken off, Timo Werner, and he needs to learn how to have better end product. Because I felt like if he could have brushed up those kind of moments and showed quality in his crossing and shooting ability, we could have won this game earlier than we did. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see how he performs as like an impact sub potentially going forward, when maybe he's playing more against tired legs rather than fresh defenders. So I think that will probably be his role going forward. With Sonny now back in the team, Richarlison in great form. I don't know if he'll ever play on the right. I think in this game specifically, I don't think he had a particularly bad game. He was looking dangerous, but that is always how it's been with Werner. He looks dangerous. He looks like he's going to do something, but then when it gets to it, he just lacks that bit of composure, that bit of quality to pick someone out or finish a chance. I think he had one shot in the game in the second half, and actually you watch it, he did really well to engineer the shot. I think he dribbled past he went right into the center of the pitch, dribbled past 2-3 Brighton players, gets to the edge of the box, and then his shot was tame and weak and ended up going wide. And that's probably Werner in a nutshell so far. I think his impact since coming into the team, it's been positive, it's been good, but obviously, I think it's pretty much the Werner we all expected. I don't everyone kind of was hoping, can he maybe perform better than what we saw before and stuff like that. But I think we're seeing what Werner is.
Sitting here gassing him up.
No, I think we were happy with it. But I think this is pretty much what we expect from Werner, a player who's going to provide a few assists and maybe get a few goals, but a lot of the time he's going to flatter to deceive, and that's probably what we expected. And at this rate, if he continues to perform like this, I don't know if it's going to be enough to justify a permanent deal, but he's still quite early on in his Spurs career because he can still definitely improve a lot. I still think he's got a lot to give, but he definitely can be frustrating like he was yesterday. But again, even in those games like yesterday, he still looks dangerous and he's still a player that you have to kind of deal with as a fine defense.
But it all comes to nothing. That's the ultimate thing. It's all very well and good getting up the pitch and beating your man, but once you get into those moments, you have to provide the quality at least once. You know what I mean? He didn't do it once. And that's the frustrating thing about Timo Werner, unfortunately. But let's finish off from the starting 11 with Richarlison. 7s all round from Rishi. Another hard-working, dogged display from Richarlison where he just did not stop running, did not stop giving those Brighton defenders a moment's rest. Provided some quality as well with his link-up play, but then again, I was also left a bit frustrated with some of his link-up play as well. He goes through on goal, the lovely ball from James Maddison. Well, I just felt he picked the wrong option. He went for the shot, kind of opened up his body where the goalkeeper, I thought it was just the wrong move for him, where he should have just kind of faked the shot and gone round the goalkeeper. But look, I thought it was a hot and cold display, but I think it was more good than bad from Richarlison. But yeah, it was just probably a shame for him not to get on the score sheet again.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with Richarlison again. I thought his hold-up play was really good. He set up 2 chances, I think, in the first half, which maybe we could have done better with. I thought a few times as well, we played the ball into him and he was holding up right in the centre of the pitch, was able to turn, was able to start running on the Brighton back line and cause problems. Obviously heavily involved in the winner as well. Good weight of pass into Sonny. It would have been very easy for him to screw that up and get the weight of pass wrong or the timing wrong, but he got it all right and we ended up getting the goal. I thought, yes, there were a few occasions, especially that moment in the first half where he runs the length of the pitch and he's got Maddison to his left and he's got a bit of space to shoot and he ends up playing a really weak pass to Maddison and the chance was gone. That maybe he could have done better with and that one-on-one. But I think in general, another really good display from him and his overall game again showing its worth. So I'm still pretty happy with Richarlison. I thought it was a positive display.
Moving on to the substitutes, we've got 2 players to rate there, and Heung-min Son up first. 8 all round from Sonny. He came on, it seemed like, with a bit of a point to prove after a drab kind of semi-final exit with South Korea. It seemed like an angry Sonny, which I remember saying to you in the stands, and he came up geeing up everyone, looking very passionate on the pitch. And the first moment he came on, he got the ball, beating a few men and darting down that left-hand side of the pitch. But unfortunately, at that moment in time, it kind of coincided with Brighton kind of taking the ascendancy in the game. And then you kind of didn't see Sonny for quite a while. But Sonny does what Sonny does, and he provided the moment of quality. Nice ball from Richarlison, and he puts in basically a ball that Timo Werner was trying to do for pretty much the whole game, and it provided us with that moment of quality. Brennan Johnson at the back post, and it goes and wins us the game.
Yeah, I think Ange put it perfectly. A world-class player providing a clutch moment. Might have to start calling him Mr. Clutch soon, because that is exactly what he's all about, Heung-min Son, in those moments, those quality. And I completely agree. Like, when he first came on, he was getting on the ball and he was looking energetic. He was like, okay, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to win us the game. And then Brighton just seemed to take control. So he was a bit out of the game, but he 100%, he was much better than Werner when he did get on the ball. He just showed a lot more quality, bit better decision making, quicker decisions, a bit more quality with his passing as well, which sometimes Werner can frustrate with. And obviously, when the big moment came, it's not an easy pass. There are 2 defenders there in the box, or 3 defenders, which he has to get the perfect ball right into Johnson's path on his, so I say a weaker foot. He doesn't really have a weaker foot, but he played an inch perfect ball right into Johnson's path. And yes, Johnson scored the winner, but the goal was pretty much all Son, because all Johnson had to do at that point, yes, it was bobbling a bit, but he just had to tap it into the empty net inside the 6-yard box because of the quality of him and Son. So as much as Johnson scored the winner, if Sonny was the match winner pretty much at the end of the day.
100%. Bissouma up next, 7s all round from Biss, and it was so good to see him back on the pitch, so good to see him back in the Spurs shirt, and I felt like he came on with a bit of authority as well in that centre of the park. He was definitely a big presence in there, a lot of interceptions, doing things that other midfielders weren't doing on the day. And I felt like with that performance he has to be playing now, because he didn't do anything spectacular, but what he did do was really effective.
Yeah, we didn't see that like uber confident Bissouma yet still that we saw like the first 10 games where he was like getting on the ball, beating players, just charging through the pitch and opening up space, and it was just so hard to deal with. But what he did do, he just gave us a bit more of a solid base. I thought defensively he was actually cutting out some really good passing lanes. And then I was looking at the stats, he made 3 interceptions when he came on, which was more than any other player on the pitch throughout the whole 90. So that goes to show what impact he made from that point of view. I think he was just there to put fires out, just facilitate the Spurs going forward. Obviously, it was a period, again, where we were under pressure, but I thought it was a really good cameo. And hopefully, if he's 100% fit and can start getting his form back, he's going to be really, really valuable from now to the end of the season. So yeah, I probably would like to see him come back into the starting 11 next week, obviously depending on what Ange thinks, with training and everything, but I thought it was a good cameo from him and a good return.
Yeah, I was saying to you on the way out of the game, need to get back to that OG midfield.
Bissouma,
the OG. Maddison, Pape Sarr.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see in the next game. And I think that gives us a lot of balance in that midfield as well, especially with the way that Bentancur is playing at the moment. But finally, Brennan Johnson, the match winner, 7s all round for Brennan. And it was actually a shocking display for Brennan Johnson when he came on, to be honest. I was getting my lines ready to absolutely lay into him in the post-match, but he did get in the back post. How many times have we seen Brennan Johnson now arrive late at that back post and just put it into the empty net? I think it's a really good trait of his that he keeps consistently making those runs. No one else is making those runs, so you got to give him credit for that. But apart from that, I thought he was really poor, to be honest. Every time it came to him, it was bouncing off him. He couldn't make it stick. He couldn't control the ball. When he did, the passes were absolutely shocking. So I thought that moment of him arriving late at the back post was probably the only positive thing that he did do after coming on, but it won us the game.
Well, there was a couple of occasions I think there was one occasion Son played him in on the right-hand side and he got a shot off, which was a pretty tame shot right at Steele. But that was a decent opening for him. He tried to take Estepinian on the same way Decky did, but I felt like he just wasn't able to impact it as much as Decky was down that right-hand side. And there was that one moment, near the end of the game, he dribbles the ball off the pitch after a really good ball from Højbjerg, and you're thinking, oh God, is it going to, is that going to sum up Johnson's cameo, which, wasn't the best. But as you say, he uses pace in such an effective way when you get to the back post. When you get a run on your defender like that, running, because defenders don't like running towards goal like attackers do. So it's so hard for a defender to stop a run like that at the back post when you're playing it across the face of goal. And the timing of the run, getting on the end of it, and as much as it looks like an easy finish, it was bobbling a bit coming towards him. So he just had to make sure it gets good contact, control it. Obviously, it's an empty net from like 5 yards, so it would have been one of the misses of the season if he does miss it. But it definitely doesn't look as easy as maybe it was with the ball bobbling, but it could easily got that wrong. So made sure to control the finish. And those runs, I think Sterling used to say it, those runs to the back post can get you, between 5 and 10 goals a season, because it's just so hard to stop. You whip the ball across the face of goal when you're as fast as Johnson, then it's hard to stop. So yeah, gave him the 7 in the end. And
when he did score, he was like the coolest man in the stadium, wasn't he? He just scored that goal and just walked off to the fans and started celebrating, doing that João Pedro celebration. And maybe there's a bit of a thing going on now in the Premier League, isn't there, with just a bit of shithousery doing opposition team celebrations, but I love to see it.
Maybe it was a bit of relief from Brendan. Just like he just made sure he didn't want to miss that, because what a big moment. But yeah, he did seem like one of the coolest guys in the stadium at that point, because everyone was going crazy and he's just chill.
Yeah. Let's finish off talking about Ange Postecoglou. We give him a 7s all round. I think it's hard to kind of talk in a negative light about anything about his starting lineup, because you're looking at Bissouma just come back from malaria and also just coming back from the AFCON, Sonny as well, just coming back from a very taxing Asia Cup. So I'm not going to put that too much down on him why they didn't start, albeit they probably would have been better options if they were fully fit. But in terms of game management, is a weird one for me to assess, because I felt like when he did make those changes, we did have a massive drop-off, because when he made those changes, I felt like we were on top. And then after the changes, Brighton really came and swung the momentum in the game. But those are the players that won us the game. I thought Bissouma was brilliant in the middle of the park, and Sonny obviously played that ball to Brendan Johnson at the back post, but all 3 of those players did come on off the bench that Ange made to impact the game. So it's a hard one to assess.
Yeah, I know it's a weird one, because if I'm looking at how Ange himself impacts the game, obviously, again, half-time, Maddison said after the game, he gave him a bit of kick up the arse, and clearly they came out a bit of a more intense team, more aggressive in that second half, and dragged us back in the game. But then he did make those changes, and as much as, yes, Son and Johnson linked up for the goal, which obviously you've got to give Ange credit for, in terms of how it impacted our overall performance, it wasn't that positively. I thought the one mistake, I think he probably got the subs right, apart from the Johnson one. He, in a weird way, I know Johnson scored the winner. I do think Ange should have left Kulusevski on. I think that would have been the better move at that time. Then bring Johnson a bit later if Kulusevski doesn't create anything in the next 10 to 15 minutes, because Kulu was starting to look really creative and really sharp. So that was a mistake, I would say, and I think that probably impacted our right-hand side negatively. But obviously, bringing Son on was positive. Bissouma on was the right call as well. He impacted the game really well. And obviously, our 2 subs linked for the winner. So overall, I think he managed the game well, but obviously it was against a very, very difficult Brighton side, which we had some difficulty controlling that game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is.
And also, we didn't mention Højbjerg, who I thought had a terrible cameo. I thought he was really bad.
Ben Davis both came on at the same time. I don't think either did much, to be honest.
I think Højbjerg had a really bad cameo. I was really frustrated with him.
What don't you think he did well?
I think he was very careless with the ball. I don't think he comes on to be aggressive. I don't think he was as aggressive as he should have been. And I just think he looked a bit reckless at times, which was quite frustrating to see.
It's a weird one with Højbjerg, because I feel like when he starts games, sometimes you see those traits in him. And then when he comes on late in games to impact, I feel like he usually does well. But yesterday just wasn't that case, was it?
I didn't like his cameo.
But look, that is our player ratings for the 2-1 win against Brighton. In terms of, let's go through some super chats, because I've seen a couple come in. I think they're from the same person. I think so, but I can't read Korean, so
it looks like the same person. Yeah.
Both the same super chat, just says Sonny with a few heart emojis. We love our Sonny.
Come on,
and he definitely pulled us through and won that game for us yesterday. But let's get into the 5 takeaways and see what 5 things we can take away from the game. What is number 1?
Number one is
Number one is 2 sides to Spurs, and we definitely saw those 2 sides yesterday.
Yeah, and it's crazy. There was a stat that came out after the game, which I think perfectly encapsulates what Spurs are all about this season. Tottenham are the only team in the league this season to lose 15 points from winning positions and win they're the only team this season to lose 15 plus points from winning positions and let me start that again.
Let's get into the 5 take.
Spurs are the only team in the league this season to lose 15 plus points from winning positions and win 15 plus points from losing positions, which is crazy to think about. It's like, that is like Spurs encapsulated. Can't hold on to a win, but you can't rule them out when they're losing as well. And yesterday, coming back from behind against Brighton, never easy to do, especially 1-0 down at half time. We had to dig deep and we had to find another gear, and we were able to do that. And obviously we never gave up until the end, but it's crazy how this is why you can never relax when you're watching Spurs, because they're winning, there's always a good chance they'll give it up, and when they're losing, there's always a good chance they'll get back in the game.
Yeah, and it feels like it's the difference between home and away, because usually at home we're scoring those last minute winners, and in away we're giving away last minute losses. You know, you go back to the Wolves game, you go back to the game last week against Everton. It's like home comforts and away struggles, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe that's part of it as well. Maybe we're giving up leads away and we're coming back from behind at home. So it means it's very entertaining and you can never relax, but you can never watch Spurs in just like a nice, comfortable game. Never. It's always a panic.
But like that's always been the case. No matter who the manager is, no matter who we got on the pitch, you can never relax watching Spurs, can you?
Never, not for a second.
But let's go on to the second takeaway, and that is Brighton's record broken.
Yeah, and Brighton going into this game had a record of 31 games unbeaten when winning at half time, which was broken yesterday with Spurs turning it around with those 2 goals in the second half, and obviously the 97th minute winner from Brennan Johnson breaking that record. And that just goes to show that when Brighton do have the lead, it's very difficult to wrestle that off them, and they're a very good side when because I think the reason for that is they like it when teams come and press them, and they like it when teams are coming to attack them. And when they take the lead, that's obviously what you've got to do to get back in the game, is you've got to throw a bit of caution to wind, you've got to press them. And that's how that then all of a sudden, that period, they have you where they want you when they're in the lead. And that should maybe shows it was even more impressive yesterday that Spurs were able to turn it around and get back in the game and get the win yesterday. Yeah,
absolutely, especially how good they looked on the ball yesterday, Brighton. I felt it was the best they've looked on the ball for a while since I've seen them. You know, I watched that game that they played at the Emirates, and they were just shocking. Arsenal just taught them a bit of a lesson that day, and yesterday was a bit different. You know, Brighton were getting on the ball, stamping their authority in the game, quick passing. They were mesmerising us at times, especially in that first half. And you got to give credit for Spurs for digging deep, and like you mentioned in the player ratings, laid into them at half time, and we came out a different team. And the subs kind of worked in our favour and not in our favour at the same times. But ultimately, the subs are the guys that won us the game, across from Heung-min Son into Brennan Johnson. And you got to give credit to Spurs, Ange Postecoglou, for digging deep and going and winning that game and breaking Brighton's record. So big up to Spurs for getting those 3 points. But let's move on to number 3, and that is lack of a bite.
Yeah, and Spurs clearly struggled to get the ball off Brighton yesterday. I think the stats ultimately showed the case. Spurs only made 10 tackles yesterday throughout the whole 90 minutes, which is their lowest tally of the season. I think that's a indication of how we struggled to get near Brighton, and we couldn't really tackle their players as often as we have previously. But on the flip side of that, we made 14 interceptions yesterday, which is our highest total of the season. So as much as we lack bite in the tackle and we struggled to get near Brighton, maybe what we improved is our anticipation of where they were going to pass it and nicking the ball in terms of intercepting their passes, because 14 interceptions on the day was our highest tally of the season. So yes, we struggled to get near them and we struggled to make tackles, but we made up for it with interceptions.
Yeah, and I felt like Bissouma was a massive part of that when he came on. Coutinho Romero as well was doing that time and time again. So I think it's a staple of the Spurs team, to be honest. The way how aggressive we can be, how we can block those passing lanes, how we can keep intercepting the ball time and time again. And it was great to see yesterday, and it was a big reason why we did go on and win that game, for sure. But let's move on to number 4, and that is Pape Matar Sarr steps up.
Yeah, and what a big moment it was for him to get the equaliser. I think it was really good reward reward for what was a definitely fantastic second half performance at the time. And even in the first half, he was pretty good. In terms of the numbers, completed 82% of his passes, 2 out of 2 long passes completed, 1 out of 1 dribbles as well. Obviously, got his shot on target, which he scored. Made 2 tackles, 1 interception. So, and also got his 3rd goal of the season. So I think that's like 5th goal contribution as well, because I think he's got 2 assists. So starting to add those goal contributions this season as well for Pape Matar Sarr, which is showing his quality. And look, for a player at such a young age, really, really positive.
Oh, man, this guy is a sensation, man. I love him so much. And it's not just what he brings us in terms of his footballing ability, but his mentality and his demeanor around the place as well. He seems to be everyone's best mate. And I just love the guy so much. He just covers so much ground, gives us so much quality when he's on the ball as well. And at his age, he's just only going to get better and better and better. He was my man the match yesterday. And I kept saying over the past couple of weeks how much balance he gives us to that midfield. And I felt like he did that again yesterday. And I just love him. Finally, the 5th and final takeaway, that is back in the top 4.
Yeah, and that does put us back in the top 4 with 3 points, just above Aston Villa in the league, who play later today against Man United at home. So obviously Villa do have a chance to reclaim that spot, but they do have to win. A draw's not going to be good enough to get back in the top 4, considering our superior goal difference at the moment. And as well, I think it was so important beating a team like Brighton, who are very, very difficult in a moment where, yes, we got our players back from injury, but they're only just come back. And sometimes even, this is what I was saying again, like before the game, even when players have come back from injury, you think they're just going to come and be at their best, but sometimes it takes a game or two to find their rhythm, get back into the swing of things. And maybe that's what we're seeing. But what we're definitely seeing is evidence that Tottenham are going to get better, I think, from now to the end of the season with our players back. When everyone back together and finding their rhythm, Tottenham will continue to improve. And Villa do have, some very difficult fixtures coming up, and their formers seem to be slipping as well. Obviously, Arsenal right now, at the time of recording, are 5-0 up at the Olympic Stadium. So I was going to say, we close the gap on Arsenal, but that gap's going to wind again to 5 points. But still, 5 points with 14 games to go is not completely insurmountable. That can be changed very, very quickly. So definitely keeping pace with the top teams, but being back in the top 4 is very, very important. And now the baton turns to Villa to win.
Yeah, but I think a draw does get them back into the top 4, though. Their goal difference is better than ours because of their result last weekend.
Is it?
Yeah. They're like 3 or 4 goals better than us at the moment.
Oh, yeah, it is. Sorry, apologies. Draw does get them back in the top 4 on goal difference. You're right. You're right. After last week. It wasn't the case before.
Yeah, because of they absolutely tore Sheffield
5-1. They won 5-1.
Last
you're
weekend.
Right.
But look, that is our 5 takeaways from the game that we beat Brighton by 2-1. Let's finish off seeing how the internet did react to the game yesterday. A lot of great reactions over the internet after that last gasp win. As Maddison said after the game, as much as I'm dying for just a nice 3-0 comfortable win, there is just that something about a last-minute winner that's special, and that's definitely what we saw yesterday. But Spurs tweeting out yesterday saying Brennan Johnson 90+6, and that's the scenes. Just look at this clip that Spurs put out yesterday with that camera on the byline.
Absolute scenes.
Perfect. Brennan, as cool as you like, just waltzes over to the Tottenham fans and does that João Pedro celebration. I love that.
The absolute scenes. Højbjerg sliding in. Absolutely love it. So great. So great.
I don't know what these tweets are from Son Loves and Solomon Wilding. I think we'll just move on.
I think they've been deleted. Must have been deleted. Oh, yeah. What's that? I don't know. What's that?
A nice little bit of Sonny loving with Coutinho Romero. I love that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look. And the Sonny hug is back.
Absolutely love it.
Because when Sonny first came back, you saw those little half-assed hugs, and now the Sonny hug is back in full swing. What's the next one from Solomon Wilding? That one you can't see, but we'll go down to the Coys Daniel saying Romero looks so proud and relieved, 100%. That is what you call a man that is loving life at Tottenham.
He kind of just like falls into Sonny with that hug. He's just like, we needed that. He does look a bit relieved, doesn't he?
Here he is, Mr. Tottenham from Zara. That is when Sonny first came on the pitch yesterday, and that's the moment we were talking about. A hero's welcome from Sonny, and he just showed that leadership mentality once again.
I don't know if you can play with sound, but you can hear the roar when he comes on. Everyone is so excited to have him back, and like it was such a loud roar having him back in the team. So really, really great.
Zara again says, what a world-class performance. Sonny, you did a good job again today. Rest well, you deserve it. And there's big smiles from Sonny at the end of the game. And it's so good to see that smile back on Sonny's face because it was a hard week from him for the South Korea going out to Jordan in a very lackluster performance. You saw him coming back to Spurs without that smile on his face, but it's good to see that smile back on his.
We'll put it this way. Lee Kang-in had to take an extra week holiday. He wasn't available this weekend.
Oh, really?
Hwang wasn't available for Wolves, even though he played the last game for South Korea. So I think it shows the mentality of Son that he didn't want to take any breaks. He wanted to come straight back in. I know it because he's the captain. He feels that responsibility to Tottenham, and he came back. And without him, we might not have won this game. And he made the difference. So so great to have him back. And what a mentality! Look how happy he is. Never get bored of that smile. It's so good to see that smile back.
100%. Another one here saying, welcome back to the star boy. And that Pat Matesa, when he scored yesterday, just dive straight into the fans in that south stand. Look at they don't want to let him go.
No, definitely not. They want to keep him. Absolutely fantastic. Did get booked for it, but what a brilliant moment for him. You saw how happy he was to get on the score sheet there. So phenomenal.
I hate players getting booked for celebrations. I think it's so stupid.
I agree. I think
why should you get a celebration for taking off your shirt or doing that? Why? What is the need for it?
I think the origin of the shirt celebration is, I think it was from Diego Forlan, who scored, took his shirt off, and then the play replayed, and he hadn't had his shirt back on. And he was struggling to get it back on because he was rushing, and for some reason they decided after that moment, you have to be booked every time you take your shirt off.
For me, it's ridiculous. Let players enjoy the moment.
I agree.
Jean THFC saying the most Eric Dyer thing I've ever seen, and this is from the Munich Leverkusen game.
So Eric Dyer.
Eric Dyer trying to clear it just straight into his own teammate, and it nearly caused an own goal as well. Bayern Munich got absolutely torn apart yesterday by Leverkusen. 3-0 on the day.
You sign Eric Dyer, what do you expect?
Yeah, I was saying that. I got a text from a friend yesterday being like, what has happened to Bayern Munich? Why are they getting absolutely torn apart by Leverkusen here? And I was like, is it really surprising when they got Eric Dyer at the back?
Yeah, honestly, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise.
Rafi Ben David, our friend from Israel Spurs, showing Vicario celebration at the goal yesterday. Look at that passion from Vicario.
Brilliant. Oh, I love Vicario celebrations. Absolutely phenomenal. It looks like he scored it. The way he does that knee slide. Unbelievable.
Michael Hamilton with a picture here saying a familiar face in the background. This is Heung-min Son after the game. And just look who there is waiting in the wing. Dele Alli is looking on. It's a very weird picture, that.
It's an ominous picture. Ominous. But yeah, look, great to have him back in the stadium. Hope he had a good time. He was still not available for Everton, which is a shame. I don't know what his future holds, but good to see him.
Do you think it's because of fitness, or do you think it's because of this situation where if he plays a certain amount of games, they have to pay
Probably
Spurs
that.
10 million?
Probably that, I would say. Because look, he might not be fit, but the fact of the matter is, do they want to risk it? Trying to play him into form, and then have to pay 10 million to play him into form.
And it's a weird one because Everton played that day earlier on, and he's there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, there you go.
Carly T saying, hang it in the Louvre. This is Romero putting the captain's armband on Heung-min Son.
The respect.
Look at
He's
that.
not even on the pitch yet, and he's already giving him the band and making sure everyone knows that Sonny's the captain. He gets the band back.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that the other way where Heung-min Son's gone over to Cuti Romero and put the captain's armband on him as well. So a lot of respect going there from the two.
Yeah, I just love, just look out. Look, Romero just look like so respectful when he's putting on. I absolutely love it.
Invert the Wing saying no player has created more chances in the entire league than James Maddison since he came back from injury. The king has reclaimed his throne.
The best player in the world. Look, to be fair, I think Maddison's been pretty positive since he's come back. I know people want him to get 3 goals and 3 assists in his first 3 games,
nice.
but that would be nice. But I think he's actually been pretty good. I've been pretty happy with his return. So, and those stats also show that he has been creating chances. So
I would say he's been pretty good, but there's a lot more to come from James Maddison. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's more to come, but I think it's been a good comeback.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it shows. I think the 3 games he's come back, we've given him 3 sevens.
Yeah.
So that just shows. But Decky on Instagram saying, great win. Thanks for the support. We keep moving. And he was actually visibly frustrated when he got taken off yesterday, slamming his coat down after he got subbed. And I can kind of understand it because he was just about growing into the game. He had the beating of Estepinian, was heavily involved in the goal that we did score. And like you mentioned, it was probably Ange's mistake, one of the mistakes in his substitutions.
Yeah, and he probably felt like as well, he was right in the game. He was starting to give Estepinian trouble. He just set up a goal, literally just set up a goal, and then gets taken off. So it must be very frustrating. I can imagine that. And I did think Ange made a mistake. So hopefully they can look past it moving forward, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think showing by that Instagram message shows it's all forgiven. We won the game. We move on. Library Mini saying you can tell how exhausted he was, yet he's hyping up the crowd like commitment is unreal. That's our Sonny boy.
Yeah, unbelievable. Was this just after the winner as well?
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's what I love about Sonny. He never forgets about the supporters. He always makes sure to include them and, get them riled up and hyped up as well. Just what makes him such a great captain. He always has these things at the forefront of his mind. And even when he's just, set up the winner, it's a great jubilant moment. And he's, going back to the centre circle, he makes sure he signals to the fans as well, even though when he's tired.
Proper captain.
Yeah.
Proper
Love
captain.
him.
Library Mini again saying, with Mitoma, I don't know why I find it funny, but it's so warm to see them like this after the game. Sportsmanship. And that's Sonny and Mitoma embracing each other after the game. Obviously play for 2 massive rivals countries, Japan and South Korea. Both had very lackluster Asia Cups as well, and they're both playing on the pitch together.
Yeah, lovely moment between the two.
Spurs, Ben Davis on Instagram saying, I think we're all happy to see Sonny back. And then it's Fraser Forster wearing Sonny's South Korea jersey. You just see how tight it is on him.
It's like about to break out. Yeah. Unbelievable.
He looks like the Hulk in that.
I love that he's brought a shirt and he's put it on. It's so funny. Love that from Fraser.
Fraser Forster and the vibes. The fans are loving it. This was at full time, obviously, when people are calling us, or Spurs fans are calling us Nightclub FC. Exactly. And it definitely turns into that after the game.
Exactly. He's going to start pre-drinking at the lane.
Ange Ball, this is from the Premier League, saying Spurs are on the joint second longest streak in the Premier League history. So that equaled Liverpool's record for the longest scoring streak in the Premier League, which ran from 2019 to 2020. And now Spurs is from March 23 to the present day. We've scored in 36 consecutive games. Only one team ahead of us at the moment.
I don't want to mention, but it's actually pretty mad. Apart from obviously Brighton from the March team, I think all of those other teams were league winners in those years and were very good teams as well.
Absolutely.
So just goes to show how hard it is to do.
Just goes to show. Coy's Daniel saying low key almost cried laughing from this, and this was Mitoma. Romero bodying Porro.
He doesn't care who's in the way. He's getting to that ball, and doesn't matter if it's Porro, doesn't matter who it is. Romero said, "I'm getting there," and he had to wipe out Porro to get there.
I'm pretty sure he did the same with Destiny as well. A bit later in the game.
Doesn't matter when the ball needs to be got to. Romero's there. Doesn't matter who's in his way.
Johnny H, big friend of the channel,
big up
with
Johnny.
His clip from Brennan Johnson's goal yesterday, and look at the scenes in that South Stand.
Yeah, such a great, brilliant, absolutely brilliant, absolutely popped off. I just love scenes of it. There's nothing like a last-minute winner, is there? There's nothing like it.
We've seen quite a few of them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this year. The Spurs Watch saying, Mr. Tottenham, and look at the passion on Heung-min Son's face there.
Yeah, back at Spurs and hasn't lost any passion since he's gone away. Absolutely love it.
Sergeant Sonny saying Big Vic just gets it, doesn't he? And we showed you this earlier on, but let's watch it again.
Why not?
It's unbelievable.
It's a great slide as well. Look how long that slide goes on for. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Heung-min Son on Instagram says, happy to be back. We left it late, but with you all behind us, we always knew we had a chance for the 3 points. Thank you everyone for your support, welcoming me back. It was a tough week, but you have all lifted me. And now I think we're going to see a special now, second half of the season from Sonny.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it's so great for him to be back in the family environment of Spurs where, he's got great quality players around him and everyone respects him and loves him. And you can see that, straight away he wanted to come and help the team. And that was the consequence, got the winning moment.
James Madison on Instagram after the game with one word, character, and with him down to his knees celebrating that winner with Højbjerg running off in the distance as well. It's just great to see again.
And it was interesting hearing Maddison after I don't know if you saw his interview, but he was saying how, late in the game where, maybe there's some tired legs and stuff, he said the crowd really lifted us and they never stopped singing, they never stopped going, and it really helped us find that moment late in the game to score. So really great for Maddison to acknowledge that. And I thought another good performance from him.
You see with James Maddison, he seemed to have just got it straight away what it means to be a Spurs player, and he embodies everything that Spurs is about, and he's a proper Tottenham Hotspur player, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely love him, 100%.
Destiny Adogi on Instagram saying, together everyone achieves more, never say quit, what a moment at our home, clutch brother Brennan Johnson.
Clutch brother, love it. That's what they're going to start calling Son, is it? Clutch brother?
No, Brennan.
Brennan's the clutch brother.
Yeah,
love it. well, he did, obviously he found a good moment against Brentford. What was it, his third goal or fourth goal?
Third, I think.
Third. Wolves, one against Wolves, one Brentford. Yeah, now this one. So all was pretty much the same goal, but yeah, big moments for Brendan.
Squawker saying Tottenham are the only side both to win 15 plus points from losing positions and lose 15 plus points from winning positions in the Premier League this season. It's never boring under Ange. And, Ange was speaking about that in the pre-match press conference, and it's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, literally. You don't know. You can never relax when Spurs are winning, and you can never relax when they're losing. You never kind of give up because it keeps happening. So it's a mad to be a Tottenham fan looking at that stat. Literally, you can never be comfortable.
Never relax. Pape Sarr needs to be protected from Yido Gus. And look at this. This is what I was talking about in the match review. Look at this heat map from Pape Sarr. Look at the amount of ground he covers.
It's crazy.
It's madness.
It's actually insane. It's actually insane. Look at that. It's a massive square, whatever, I don't know if you call that square, but it's just a massive area, which compared to everyone else, it's just so big. Yeah. It just shows how hard he works and the tireless running he gives.
Absolutely. Jacko says the best centre-back in the league by a country mile. Today he was absolutely magnificent, got us back into the game with his pressing and desire, never gave up, performance of a true leader. Romero is our best player and most important player. I'll never get tired of saying this. Do you agree with that?
He's our best player and our most important player.
Best centre-back in the league by a country mile.
I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think he was brilliant yesterday, and I think what he does is very unique for a centre-back compared to a lot of the top centre-backs in the league. The way he's kind of like an attacking centre-back. He gets you on the front foot with his ability to be aggressive and be proactive. And it is very unique for a centre-back. So he's extremely good at that. From that kind of skill set, he's probably the best in the league at doing that. But as a centre, depends what you look for in a central defender. But as a central defender of a full package, is he completely the best? I don't know. But I think he's probably the best proactive kind of centre-back in those facets for sure.
I don't think he has the best defensive nature for a centre-back in the Premier League, but I do feel like you're right in terms of for what he does. He probably is the best in terms of the way he presses into the midfield, the way he's so aggressive, the way he sets us up on attacks. Maybe he is the best in that aspect, but as a pure centre-back, I don't think so. Spurs Web saying, just showing that Maddison going and running to the fans and giving his shirt after the game. He absolutely loved that in the celebrations after the game, didn't he?
A nice little moment and very lucky fan getting his shirt. Look at that.
Yeah.
Lovely moment from Madders.
Vicario and Brennan Johnson after game. Look at that hug, Vicario. He's squeezing him to death there.
Those Vicario hugs are becoming iconic. Absolutely love them.
Pedro Porro tweeted out saying, winning mentality, #Coys and vamos, with some great pictures of Pedro Porro.
Big up Pedro.
What do you think about Pedro at the moment? Because I feel like his performances have taken a bit of a dip in the past couple of weeks.
I think his influence has I wouldn't say diminished, but it's definitely not as much as it was in previous games. I still think he's doing a good job defensively. He's not a liability, and obviously he's still got quality with his passing, but he used to really be kind of creating chances, getting to the final third, having an influence on the game, and that didn't really happen in the last few games. But I don't think it's anything to worry about. It's just maybe a period he's going through.
Tottenham tweeting out the goal scorers, Papsar and Brennan Johnson. Great picture, that.
Lovely picture. They look like good friends as well.
Papsar is a good friend with everyone.
Yeah, and you can't.
Literally everyone.
He's everyone's little brother, isn't he? Even though Brennan's probably similar age to him.
Yeah, probably about a year in it.
Yeah.
Tottenham as well saying, same Pierre. Look at Pierre's reaction to Brennan Johnson scoring in that last minute.
Yeah, fantastic.
Just on his knees.
Absolutely love it. It's a great picture.
Simon Yamane saying, look at that pass from Son, curves towards Brennan Johnson. It was literally the most perfect pass.
Right into his
You
path.
can't get a better pass than that.
Exactly. Lets him run onto it as well. And good finish. So it's just phenomenal from Sonny.
Tottenham tweeting out saying, our captain, and this is just a nice Rodrigo Bentancur and Heung-min Son embrace from the game yesterday.
Yeah, another lovely moment. Son always acknowledges everyone. I absolutely love it.
Another one of Son and Dele Alli. We showed you that earlier. Mickey van der Ven yesterday going over to, who's it, Van Hecke after the game. I thought Van Hecke actually had an all right game yesterday.
Are they national teammates? Or they, I don't know, or he's just appreciating Van Hecke bit of sportsmanship?
They're both Dutch, aren't they?
They're both Dutch, yeah.
Yeah,
it makes sense, Van Hecke, yeah. So maybe there's a bit of acknowledgement there. Yeah, a really nice moment.
Bentancur and Maddison after the game, just with a white heart emoji. And then Spurs Web saying, what a job this man is doing. We're all loving Big Ange. And that was Big Ange just embracing the fans after the game. I'm
loving those when Ange comes over to the fans after games. It's one of the great moments, and then they're playing Angels over the tannoy. It's really great. It's lovely.
It is a sight to behold after we win a game at the Tottenham Stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, which is such a difference to how it's been in previous seasons. Even when we won a game, it's like they play glory and everyone goes home, but now it's so
proper
different.
Party atmosphere.
Yeah.
This was the scenes when Papsar scored yesterday. Obviously, we went through it as well. We saw this one earlier. Craig Tigger says Ange is now averaging more points per game than in any Spurs season since Poch 17-18. So far beyond anything I was expecting at this point. And for, just over half a season to go in his first season, that's brilliant.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're saying about it's so early yet we're still getting pretty consistent points. You've got to give Spurs credit for that, because no one expected us to be getting so many consistent points at this stage of the Ange project. We all thought it was going to be a lot tougher than this, and it has been difficult. There have been challenges, but the way we're dealing with them was so much better than I would expect at this stage. It's incredible.
Another nice embrace from Sonny and Brennan Johnson, the two guys that linked up for the last minute winner.
He said after the game, Sonny, I wanted my boy to score.
Yeah, I saw that. Brilliant stuff. And then what I was going on about before, Nightclub FC. Our stadium literally just turns into a nightclub after the game. I love it.
That's what Anne said. Some teams want their stadium to be a fortress. We want ours to be a nightclub.
And that's exactly what it is. But it's a fortress as well.
Exactly.
Cho saying captain, and that was just Kuti putting that armband on Heung-min Son once again.
And I think, again, it's the clip of, you can just hear the roar when he comes onto the pitch. It's just great. It was such a big moment in our season. So good.
And the source saying, we ain't forgetting little bro, João Pedro.
Yeah, Johnson does not forget celebrations. If you celebrate against scoring against us, he will not forget. He will come and find you.
Love it. Hotspur related saying Tottenham have now equaled the joint second longer. We've been through that. Premier League panel saying Heung-min Son is so good. Spurs' service from wide areas has been pretty horrible since he's been at the Asia Cup. All pace and movement with nothing at the end of it. Son changes that within 30 minutes.
And that's what Son brings you. He's a world-class player.
Lily White Lab saying, genuinely think without Romero, there's no chance we get over the line. The amount of times we won the ball high up, literally driving the team forward, so solid from set pieces. I don't care what people tell me. Beast centre-back in the league.
Best.
Beast as well.
He's a beast. I gave Romero my man of the match, so I completely agree with everything he's saying there. But apart from maybe best centre back in the league, but I thought he was such a big reason why we took control of that game in the second half.
And I love all these the players coming in after the game. They're actually showing this on the big screen after the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But look at these celebrations. First comes Pedro Porro, then comes Sonny. Sonny just looks relieved.
He looks knackered.
Bissouma.
Sonny Madders with the darts. Come on.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
Yeah, there's Pape. Come on. Absolutely love it.
And I love this passion from Kuti and Vicario. I was like,
about to get a fight as well, get a punch up with the passion just pumped up with 3 points. Going to start a ruckus. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Simply Spurs with a meme of Brighton in the final minute. This is funny.
Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
That's Ben from EastEnders. It's absolutely.
Mr. Johnson.
That's so funny. I love that. I love that so much.
What are you going to do to me.
Library Mini with the Heung-min Son assist
Mr.
is
Johnson.
insane. World-class player, absolutely was.
Brilliant.
And then obviously Brennan doing the João Pedro celebration. And that is all we have today. So that is how the internet did react to the 2-1 win. Last gasp victory for Tottenham once again at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But that is all we have time for today. So we'll see you all tomorrow for another day of Tottenham content. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Let me all remind you as well before we go that we are on all podcasting platforms at the moment. Just search We Are Tottenham TV on your likes of Spotify, Acast, and the various different podcasting platforms. So come and join us there as well. We don't just do video content, we do audio content and written content as well if you go to WeAreTottenhamTV.com. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.